we'll come in as a casual. We're not going to do a whole introduction because we'll have um, assumed that already.
Okay, let's go lift this up. It'll be good. Yeah, Palm Springs is a great spot. I haven't spent much time there, a long time, but have friends that go there and golf a lot. Enjoy the desert.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I mean, I live here year round. It's hot in the summer, but this time of year is you can't beat it. So,
Right.
all right, let's give it a go.
Okay. Right.
Good morning, Fred. How are you today?
Doing well. Doing well. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Let's just dive right in. I'd like to talk a little bit about, I mean, it's been 25 years, so it's a long journey, but I'd like to bridge the gap between your founding of the brand and then sort of your growth path to where you are today. Because you've got what, 14 brands under the umbrella?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. And it's been since I got into beer, it's been over 33 years, believe it or not. So I started in 92. I actually started getting ready for it in 91. And I have, the Shipyard brands, most notably the Pumpkinhead beer that makes it around the country. We're in the UK with American Pale Ale, and we have brew pubs, Sea Dog brew pubs and Shipyard brew pubs, and then the original brew pub is in Kennebunk, Port Harbor, Kennebunk, Maine, and was started in 92. Is called Federal Jacks, and the brewery that's still there now is Kennebunkport Brewing Company. And actually, my nephew, Benjamin Fitzpatrick, as the next generation, is learning to brew and taking over the location, and grew up working there as my sister's son, and which is kind of nice to have happen. It's very nice to have happen. And then we've created some brands around him, Katahdin and Climb Katahdin. He did the Appalachian Trail a few years ago, and now he got married and has two children, and lives in Kennebunk, Maine. And so it's become a family, second generation strategy. And when you talk about brands, they kind of develop a life of their own. We have a Captain Eli's root beers, he made with real, with cane sugar. It's all natural. And we have a blueberry and a ginger beer, and then we have Ice Pick vodka, which is a new vodka that is 8 times distilled, and we make it in New England and we make it in Florida, and we have big aspirations for growth there. We just started doing a whiskey called Wildcat Whiskey, in which we're buying bourbon and whiskey barrels that have been aged and blending and creating some really unique whiskeys. And we're doing I can go on and on with crazy. I'm one of those
yeah,
entrepreneurs that just, but the brands that we have trademarks on, we probably have over 20 different trademarks, and actively using and developing brands. And I'm still in the real estate business with Harborview Properties in Maine, and I spend a lot of my time in Florida, the St. Pete, Tampa Bay area. So I found myself 65, still energized and excited to get up and work. And I play golf very poorly, so I'm not golfing a lot. But my cousin Bruce Forsley and his son Teddy, who is a great golfer, so we spend a little bit of time, you know, relaxing down here in Florida. But for the most part, I'm pretty active.
yeah. So is it I mean, I heard whiskey, vodka, beer, brew pubs, multiple states, nationwide. I thought I saw a coffee brand in there. How do you plan something like that? Is it things just you bump into things, or is there some path that you're trying to follow?
You know what? I've got a little bit of ADD, and I'm dyslexic, and I never did really well sitting down and focusing on a business plan. But I am really in a position now in my life where if what I said to somebody recently is, if you look at a bar and how many different styles there are there, vodka, I want to have something in each category, and not with the explosion of non-alcs. The idea of doing a coffee, we haven't done it. We haven't succeeded at doing a coffee. I had a coffee shop that we didn't do great with for a variety of reasons. But coffee, I'm addicted to coffee, and I've got some friends with good brands. So we've talked about, and one of the reasons is when you look at marketing something on a national basis, figuring out how to get to market, having a portfolio of products is going to be very critical in the future, because you can't afford to send a sales guy out and pay him if he's only selling one SKU. In the old days, we had, I had a guy living in Southern California, I had a guy living in Texas, and they were only selling, three brands that we had for Shipyard. And you were able to make it work if they could sell maybe 30, 40,000 cases, which was a realistic goal. But then all of a sudden we had 7,000 competitors in the country. And and I feel like if I can get a little bit of each category as a company, I think I can become a strong supplier. And we really, in the beer and liquor business, is we're the producer, then we sell to to the distributor. Distributor convinces his sales guys to go out and sell it, and then the retailer, which would be Trader Joe's, or any of the major shopping centers, or any of the local bars and whatnot, and then you got to convince the customer and pull it off the shelf. So you're really selling to, versus a lot of people's product, they have one customer, one sale, and they can go direct to that customer. Because of the three-tier system and the laws, we have to go through a distributor. We can't even ship in most states direct to the customer. We have to sell to a retailer that's in that state, and they sell to a customer. So it's a very complicated business that I've chosen. And we sometimes make more money selling wearables, like this sweatshirt. I'll make more than selling a case of beer. Might make $10 selling the sweatshirt, where I'll make $2 selling a case of beer. It's hard for people to believe, but it's, a friend of mine I grew up with has a software company, and every time he sells, his cost of goods are almost nothing, right? Because he's already paid for, the production of that software package. And that's when you can really, make some money. A lot of guys made money in the beer business. A lot of guys are losing a great deal of money in the beer business right now. The liquor business, the same thing. In the last, since 2021, there's been $860 billion worth of value taken out of public and private wineries, distilleries, breweries. And I think it'll come back, but not to the days of 2020, after COVID or pre-COVID.
Yeah. So how do you market in a situation like that? Are you trying to find somebody that will bridge the brands? Like
Well, we've recently tried to spend a lot of energy and money on social media. And I think this new age of digital content and streaming, and you can't figure out how to buy TV anymore, or even radio. Even the big car dealers are going to events and then streaming, because they know whatever they do at an event, they're going to get that benefit. They don't know as much today if they spend money on TV, what it really the impact is. So, but now with streaming and quantifying things, they can see how many eyeballs are getting on it. But it's really become a lot more technical, and I don't have that expertise, but I'm drawing on people that have that ability to really pinpoint. And we've started to go direct to consumer, like Ice Pick Vodka. We can deliver to 44 states. I don't even know the 7 that don't, but 50 states. So, we got to find out. And you really have this 3-tier, 4-tier system that is complicated. And there's been a lot of trying to fight that by big companies and stuff like Walmart and some of the other suppliers. But as a small guy, you just try to figure out which way to go.
Yeah. So let's talk about content strategy for a little bit. What does your content strategy look like if you were to describe it on the whole?
I think okay, babe. I think we really are about uh, trying to put our products in real situations that people are having fun or they're enjoying it or they're having an experience. Like I came up with this show, Having a Beer with Fred, and I'll go to accounts or I'll have a beer with somebody that might play music in our locations or might do business with, or or somebody like Gordy Gronkowski is Gronk's brother. I know him, and I might have a beer. He might have an energy drink. And my concept really is you relax and have a drink with somebody, whether it's alcohol or beer or whatever, and I'll have what I love, which is usually Shipyard Export or some other beer we're having, and then I'll talk about the beer and I'll basically put that out there, and then I'll do some calls to action on things for events, with our brew pubs, and people. We still do radio. We're starting to do a little bit more with some TV. We do a lot of sponsorships, road races, golf events, partnerships with people. And the big key for us is just getting the product on the shelf, or so we try to ingratiate ourselves with accounts, and we keep trying to make a brand relevant through the customer asking for it. So like Pumpkinhead, if you go on Shipyard's YouTube, Shipyard Brewing, and look at all the pumpkin videos, we have this guy Pumpkinhead Pete, which has really took on a life of its own. We did one video, it was called Reveal, in which Pumpkinhead Pete actually revealed what baby he was going to have. They were doing a reveal party, and it turned out it was all orange. I think we had over 6 million views. And so that makes it fun. And the idea really is how do you make it fun? How do you keep it exciting and interesting? And that's really it.
Yeah. So you said something in there that were music to my ears. You said calls to action. Where are you trying to drive people, and what is the event you're trying to get them into your world?
We have, these 18, well, I have really 9 Sea Dog pubs, and then, seven, 9 other types of pubs. And what we will typically do, we'll have a road race and I'll do a discount call to action if you book by now. Or, we have mug clubs. If you come in on Monday, you can get a 10% or 20% discount on joining the mug club. Or, these types of things. We do a lot with events, anything from trivia to, book signings with people. We have a couple retail stores where, okay, 20% off before 9 o'clock on, Saturday, and see who gets up early that's on vacation, who might have seen an ad, and see how effective it is. We're in a lot of tourist areas, so digital content and trying to, get it to pups up and people's cell phones, whether they're on the beach or in their car. We've played around with that. We need to I think in the coming years, we'll do a lot more with it. So
Yeah. So, and do you end up cross-pollinating the brands? Like if I get into the one of the brew pub, engage somehow, do I then get introduced to other brands?
definitely on site, we do a lot of that with the wait staff, and we do a little bit with content. We're going to do more of that in the future. It's complicated because of the laws a little bit sometimes on how you can sell it. So you might get digital content shows up in Georgia and we don't sell anything in Georgia. Maybe we might have one product. So that sometimes is frustrating for the consumer, because they're like, okay, well, come to Maine, you can buy it all you can buy it all there, but we can't legally ship. So that's where sometimes it's a little complicating for people. But I think, you try to do that. What's nice about having a brew pub is you can sell everything, right? We have mustards, we have hot sauces, we have all kinds of things that we have our brand on that we sell, and then we sell a lot of wearables too. So, but when you're trying to go direct to consumer, then it's a little more complicated.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to picture in my mind all of the a mosaic of contacts and exceptions and rules and brands and products and SKUs and locations and states. How do you keep it all straight? You must have a team of quants just
Yeah, we actually, when we have had more than a few people dealing with it at times, and then other times, what has happened since there's so many people that have got into the industry, think back to the 50s and well, say even the 70s, there were 50 breweries in the country in say 1969, 1970, Schlitz and Budweiser and Miller and Schaefer, and there weren't any craft beers, right? So then you go to when we started, and there was Sam Adams and Anchor Steam and Sierra Nevada and maybe say 15 others, and maybe there were 90. I think there was 90 breweries when we started. Now they're pushing into above 7,000, and the reality is it's uh, it's really pretty tricky uh, to deal with all the laws, but by having so many, they've made access to information, and every state has tried to make it easier because there are lobbyists now on the even distillers have been growing, and they try to affect the laws to make it less restrictive because they need it to be less restrictive. The big guys are fine with the restrictions because they keeping the little guy out, right? So now, but you still like people will say to me, Fred, you know what you ought to do? And they'll come up with three things that are impossible to legally do. You know what I mean? It's like I'll have some people go, well, why don't you just give me, $500 and do this, this, and this at my location, and I'll let you spend the money and do it. Well, that's illegal. That'll get you thrown in jail. You can't give, in most states, you can't give more than $300 worth of value to an account. And you definitely can't pay to play, they call it, and people have gotten in trouble for that. So, yeah, I think the legal parts of our business is the biggest misconception for outsiders that aren't in the industry and haven't been, just to get a brewery licensed will take you. No, it used to take 6 months. It's probably 3.5 now, just to deal with all the liquor laws and everything that comes with that. But I mean, I try to. Luckily, I've had some great people have worked with us. They had Alan Pugsley, who they used to call Johnny Apple. Well, they still do. The Johnny Appleseed of Brewing. He's English and came here with a bioscience degree from University of Manchester, and was in their program there that focused on the chemistry behind distilling and brewing and all of that. And he ultimately became my partner in 92. So from the brewing side, I could focus on the marketing and sales side and, really look at how we grow this. But, today there are so many benefits from these younger guys can just take advantage of through the Independent Brewers Association. There's a lot of access to information, and now with AI, it's incredible what you can learn just by asking a little question about build me a marketing plan for the country for a beer, give me beer, but it takes into consideration all these things. So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you still got to get out of bed. You got to go to work. You got to love what you do. And I've been very fortunate that I still do. I still enjoy it. I still have fun with it. It's frustrating at times. The only time I don't have fun is when I'm dealing with banks and lawyers.
Yeah, makes sense. So that begs the question, like, how do you fit in or stand out in a sea of 7,000 competitors? Like,
Yeah.
that just
It's
boggles the mind.
I would say it's very difficult because we're an older brand in the sense of the US as a craft beer. We're seen as the old guys or OGs, but in the UK we're a new brand, right? Because we can stand out because in the UK we're an American. We almost stand for America and American Pale Ale, and they sell beer a lot different ways. So we actually sell more beer in the UK than we do in the US. I think in the US and even in our home court, it's about, just getting on the shelf and having a relationship, merchandising and having a power of consistent quality. I think when somebody buys a Shipyard beer, they know what they're going to get. I think when they look at some of these new beers, they might taste one way 1 month and taste a whole different way 3 months from there because they didn't have that was the one thing with Alan Pugsley. I had the consistent quality, and today that's lived on for over 33 years. So if you don't have that, it's just like any product that changes that's been, the same way. I remember Schwinn bikes when I was a kid. You couldn't destroy those things. Then all of a sudden, when I bought a Schwinn for my kids, it was a piece of junk. You know what I mean? It was like, oh well, find out somebody bought the company and they changed or things change, right? But right now we buy our malt pretty much from the same barley fields, that the same maltster that we bought for 30 years, and the hops and have gotten better and higher quality, and so it's tricky because beer is gets old. If you have a beer that's 120 days old or 180 days old, and whoever you sold it to a distributor and he stored it in a warm container and then he moved it in a warm truck, you may remember Coors wouldn't do anything unless it was refrigerated. But there was no magic behind that other than the reality is beer can be contaminated by, or can go bad because of being overheated, and
Yeah.
so I mean, how you deliver a beer, that's why brew pubs have done so well. Is 90% of the brew pubs you've been in had good beer, and it was served within a week or two of brewing. When we sell a beer, we've I don't want to say we've perfected it completely, but you can have one of our beers 6 months later, and like our blueberry, because the way we brewed it and perfected it, and as long as the distributor keeps it, and the account keeps it in a good manner, it tastes good. We've
Yeah.
had one guy call me one time about a beer going bad, giving me shit about it. And I said, "Well, where was the beer stored?" "Well, I stored it out back." "Well, where'd you store it? Was it in the cooler?" I said, "No." I said, "Well, how many days was it outside?" And this is in the summer in Miami. I said, "Well, you fucking idiot. It's 100 degrees. And of course it's got to go." He says, "Well, the keg's only a month." I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Jesus Christ. How stupid can you be? But that when people just don't, a nice guy, but didn't understand, had not been in the business that long, that, hey, you can't. "Well, I've seen draft beer outside." I says, "Yeah, well, it's usually in the basement or in an area that doesn't get above 50 degrees or 60 degrees,
Yeah.
And, and
Do you
that's
have
it.
any kind of metric where you measure brand loyalty when someone tries a brand, like how they stick with it?
We don't have access to that because it's the distributor's information. But now with there's more information. You can tell how long an account has sold it. So like how long have you been in this store, or how long have you been in this bar, from it's called VIP reports that report back, and we have access to that information. But we try to monitor those things through our distributors, and that's what our reps will do, is communicate and see how that goes. But
Yeah, because I tried one of your brands yesterday for the first time, and there's only one place in my neighborhood that carries it. Um, but it created an event in my mind. So I liked the beer. It was good quality. I liked it. So in my head, I was like, oh, next time I go back there, I'm going to go back there. My beer choice is already made. It's like,
that definitely happens at the consumer level, and that is very tricky to try to monitor as a supplier. But we have had communication now through direct to the brewery, through people that tell us, "Hey, I've been buying Shipyard Export for this many years, a Pumpkinhead for this many years, and I had this experience or that experience." And that's why I think technology's been so much is increased and been a great thing for companies like ours. So we can, we have 80,000 people on our Facebook, and people can get my cell number if they want. And, I have no problem people calling me and emailing me, and my cell's number 207-450-1104, and Forsley at shipyard.com. And I give that out, and and the only reason I do is I want to be accessible. If something's not right, something's good. And surprisingly, I get some good comments, as many as, "Hey, this was a bad experience we had with a waitress," or and a lot of times, "This was a great, I just couldn't tell you how much I enjoyed this, and my family had this good experience," and or, "Can you get Pumpkinhead to Oklahoma?" Things like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just going to take a pause because I lost a video on your feed.
Turn on reaction. Use.
I think I might have kicked out when you did the thumbs up.
Oh, tap.
There we
How's
go.
it? Uh, Sorry. Huh. Do you edit these? Yeah.
We do. We'll go back and edit it, and we'll probably put up a screen or something. Says while you were talking, because you were that was the part where you had your
Mm.
phone number and your contact
Yeah, you can,
availability, all that.
yeah, you can put that all. I'm pretty open on all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, your assistant is fun. Uh,
Oh, she's
yeah,
yeah, she's been great.
yeah.
So I'm curious then, if you were to advise, you've got such a breadth and depth of experience in the business and marketing side. If you were to give, someone in your space in a smaller brand, maybe getting started or trying to grow or thinking about, I'm in the brew pub space, and I'm flatlined. What advice would you give them, or what would you uh, ad- advise they mindset wise or tactically or strategically, just whatever you think would be good advice.
I mean, if you're in the beer business, it's one thing. If you're in the restaurant business, it's another. But I think the beer business, enjoy engaging with the customers. If you don't feel right engaging or don't love it, it may not be the best career for you. I would say try to get some mentors and spend a lot of time with your distributors so that they get to like you and want to represent you. And because the power of my success for the beer business has really been about working with my distributors, and then the power of the restaurant business, I would say, bring a fun personality to it, can create a quality experience and keep it consistent in that area. Try to have, and then make sure your people are having fun there.
Yes, often often overlooked, and that's not advice we hear
Yeah,
very often.
there's a lot of ways you can make a lot more money than being in the restaurant business or being in the beer business. But there are a few ways that can be as, I've been very fortunate because it's been rewarding and fun most of the time, and I've made some great friends.
Yeah. Well, that is very cool.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for your time today. I've loved this
yep,
conversation. It's been enlightening and educational, and I've got my marketing brain just it's doing backflips right now, just
awesome.
trying to contemplate all the stuff you have to keep track
Well,
of.
I'm glad I got a friend in the desert that can keep. Yeah, a cool thing would be to go to that account, meet the GM, and say, "Hey, do you want to talk to the owner?" Da 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 da. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, awesome. Well,
So.
listen, I appreciate the time as well, and we'll keep moving.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we'll hand this over to editing. We've got about 14 episodes in the can, and we're just going to start to release them every week.
Okay.
So I'm also going to put you on my podcast guest list
Yep.
because I send updates out about the group. And I was talking this guy I interviewed last night. He was one of my earlier guests. I talked about maybe creating what every once in a while, like a group chat, a group call to
Yep.
have some of these people meet each other because the the caliber of guests that I've been interviewing have been really good.
No, it's great.
Um, and there's some, I met some strategic marketing thinkers that are like you talk about your content strategy. I interviewed a guy who had a local nursery. Like he sells plants, and he's just tearing up his state. He just owns the space in his state, and he's created a content strategy. So he distributes loads of content about plants, and he has a huge following. And now he's moving from his state to other states, and he's just taking his whole content pillars with him. And
Yeah,
it's just like wow, it's like an organized, structured production of content. It's really amazing.
that's cool.
So,
Very cool.
um,
Uh,
last question before I let you go. I run a marketing agency. That's what I do day and night. We've been 18 years focusing solely on email marketing and retention, like email SMS. Um, so I always put it out there. If you want to have a conversation about that at a future date, we might be able to take a look at what you're doing and see if there's any room for improvement. Because I've been doing direct to consumer in the winery space right from the beginning. That was
right.
my space.
Well, it's worth talking about. I got some people I would introduce you to within my group, and we've talked about now that we can ship ice pick, that might be something to do. And we've talked about tests we could do, per order or whatever, and see how we could give a return to somebody that works that. So I don't know if you've ever done that too, but I'll send you a link to our ice pick stuff, and well, let's talk in the future.
Yeah, well, then I'll have Caitlin follow up and set up a meeting in the next couple of weeks. And
Yeah,
the whole game is, you know, you talked about call to action is capture the relationship and then talk to the person, especially in direct to consumer. And
yeah,
then once you have that relationship going and is structured and systematic and you can measure it, then you can, it's a lever. You say,
mm,
you need more revenue in a particular month, then you turn it up. You need more stronger relationships, you turn it up. You need people at an event, you can send a pack of people. Like it becomes really an asset that you can use, and no matter what you're doing on the marketing side. So I
yeah.
probably don't need to sell you on the value of email, but that's where I've been
No,
living for so long.
I definitely think direct to consumer. We have even a soda brand, Captain Eli's, and we have a wearables. The more we could test. I was involved in the business where I backed these guys that were doing acne product, and they did really well with it. They did 40 million 1 year, and they got in trouble because they had a German study. And then after they paid the fine with the government, which was bullshit, Gunther Ranker came at them because um, they had a German study, not a U.S. study, and they got the feds to come at us, and we ended up paying $500,000 fine. Then we had to um, reboot and do a U.S. study. Proved everything we already knew. It was better than Proactive, the acne cream for kids that they have, and it worked even better for many testimonials, many friends that kids that used it, etc. And we were doing really well, making a lot of money, and things were going good. And we would pay people per order, to grow it, and it worked well. We had it selling. We had 800 numbers back before all. It was in the
Yeah.
90s, and but then what happened were there were three other partners that worked the business. They were 10 years younger than me. And the guy that really had the brain for the calls to action and writing everything got fucked up on drugs. And he went into a flat spin. He actually OD'd and died. And that was the end of that business. It was terrible because he was really the
Wow.
brains. But I loved that business, but that wasn't my business. I was doing the beer business because they could make things happen per order and da 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 da. And they could tell whether an ad on radio or um, newspaper print what it paid on a return. They did remnant space, like USA
Yeah.
Today back then, and yeah, they did really well. It was,
Yeah.
but it was all based to direct stuff. We did some email, but back then email wasn't as was more about radio and TV and print, and then it evolved into online and more digital. But
Yeah. There kind of is. I think there's a tier system for email because I see like there's the pure email plays that are you got customers, you have their email addresses, and they communicate via that. But then
yeah,
you have people that pass through your website, that go to events, they go to a
yeah,
tasting room. Then you could get them on a list and then convert them to the customers.
yeah. We
And
have a
then
big we have a big list too. So, but people that have bought wine might be potential. Do you own a lot of lists?
I try not to because that's a tough game to use a list for another purpose. It's doable, but it's a tougher game.
Not always legal anymore, but we we had we sold our list, I think, one time for $500,000.
Yeah.
Now I think that would be illegal. Yeah, that was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think we uploaded everything.
I'm at about 87%, but I'll hang out until it's completed. So,
Okay. I just got another call. I think I'm a few minutes late, but I enjoyed talking with you, and we can. Am I good to hang up or?
yeah, you're good to
Okay.
go.
I getting
Thank you very much,
buzzed.
Fred. We will
Listen,
talk to
yeah,
you.
we will see you and talk more in the future.
Yeah, you betcha.
All right. Thank you.